Hi there, my name is Kendrick, and today I get to interview Shane. So Shane, welcome.
Hello, nice to meet you. Hope you're doing well.
Yeah, yeah.
My my
Sorry.
s- uh my full type is ESTJ jumper, TENE, play consume, sleep blessed, double feminine, social 4.
All right, sweet dude. So we have a very similar type, which is really cool, except you're a decider, I'm an observer. And
hmm
so those are the big difference, which we'll address talk about shortly. But what did you think and how did you feel when you got your typing results back?
It it was honestly very amazing because I thought I was an INFJ jumper. I knew for sure I was blast last, and I knew for sure I was double feminine, social 4, all that stuff. But so I got that part right. But the I guess I didn't really understand the EJ life problems before I got typed. And so I was like, oh wait, these are the problems I'm having. I'm not really having the um, observer issues that I thought I was having.
Gotcha. Well, why don't we start with that since we're on that topic already. So you thought you were an INFJ and then you became an ESTJ when you finally got your types, meaning you are a decider, an EJ specifically. Can you share a little bit about like what kind of EJ problems that you've experienced in your life that like when you got your typing results, you're like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Like why, like I'm this type.
I've had a few issues with self-esteem, emotional related stuff, and like yeah, I think one thing that people misunderstand about the lead TEs is actually how emotional we are. I don't know if it's just my type in specific that is a little bit more since I'm masculine and double activated FI, but I feel like even though I have FI last, I feel like a overall pretty emotional person still, considering everything.
Yeah, I mean you have FI, so it makes a lot of sense. And
Yeah.
yeah, and definitely like the double activation in that FI does make a huge difference. And you know what? I've interviewed so many EJs, like both ESTJs and ENTJs. I've always been really shocked that it doesn't matter if your FI is in the fourth. Like a lot of the EJ, the ENTJ and ESTJs I've interviewed actually know what their FI is, you know?
Yeah, I would say I'm pretty conscious of it, honestly. I'd like
Yeah.
to think.
Well,
Seems.
let's talk about that then. Like, so TE is your default, but FI is something that you're very conscious of. Um,
Mhm.
would you be able to describe like at any given time, like let's say you're having some kind of tribe problems and you're feeling like a lot of strong emotions. Are you able to identify what you're feeling when those moments are happening, or do you need time to process it first?
I definitely need time to process it a little bit. Yeah, that's for sure. I do sometimes have a little bit of trouble understanding my feelings at times, I've noticed. And um but as I've started to understand what this type's really about, I've been trying to lean more in on the emotional aspects of my personality and stuff. And for example, like I'm a huge Pokemon fan and I collect like I'll show you. I collect plushies. And so with like Zora, for example, my little Hisuian Zora, I will like hug my plushies as I'm like watching videos. So, I'm FI last. I need a little bit extra help with my FI sometimes, and that's okay. I'm just like more okay with that now than I used to be, and I'm more open with needing a little extra emotional help.
Right. Dude, I really appreciate you sharing that. That's super cool. Like, like you're
hmm
showing us your FI, that's super cool. Like I love it. Uh, I feel like your double activated consume also helps a lot with that too. Because like, you're like telling me you're into Pokemon, right? Which is like a
Yeah,
consume thing. So you have double activated NF consume and your NF consume is double masculine also, if I'm not mistaken. So uh can you
yeah.
share a little bit about like that double activated, double masculine consume of yours and how like that um affects you, whether that be knowing what you want to consume, like what hobbies you're into essentially.
Yeah, so um yeah, like obviously you said, Pokemon was a big thing that I've been into for a while. One thing I've noticed about myself is sometimes I'll watch a video for the NETE stimulation, but I won't be like deeply FI loving it. So, like for an example, I watched this medical YouTuber. He does like videos where he goes over like kind of unusual medical cases, basically. And I'll watch those for the NETE stimulation, but I'm not really like passionate about the medical field. Like, obviously I respect doctors and all that, but like, I'm not super passionate about that. But I like the videos for the NETE stimulation. But Pokemon, like for example, that's really deep into my FI. Like, I really like love that. I'm holding on to it. I think the masculine FI really helps me to like hold on and narrow in on the things that I really love. And I think if it was feminine, I wouldn't be doing that as much.
Yeah, it would be a bit more challenging. It's not impossible, but definitely more challenging for sure. So that's definitely a big bonus for your type to help yourself being an EJ, which is awesome because then you need as much what do you call it? Activation with your FI as possible, right? To really like empower that fourth function. Um, so part of NF consume is also your external image that you would project to the tribe, essentially. Now you are a number four, so you're not likely to have any ulterior motives like the number ones would, but um, but your external image is still NF. So from my understanding with NF consume as an external image, I want to use Mr. Beast's example. Have you seen his videos?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, you're aware of him. So he's the ENFP guy, he's
Yes.
double feminine. And he does a lot of philanthropy work. So his external image is he comes across quite altruistic because he's not using his money to buy like bling blings and like anything
Hmm.
that's like flashy and stuff. He essentially just gives away a lot of his money to the philanthropy work. However, that's not his true identity. His true identity is his sleep, right? Which is popularity. Hence why he's like the biggest YouTuber in the world, right? That's exactly what he really wants. But his external image is of that of philanthropy and like being like doing good deeds and and whatnot.
Hmm.
So do you see yourself projecting that kind of image externally to the pub to others? Like you're a good person that you're. I'm not saying you're not, but I'm just saying like there is like a part of you that would like project that image because of the NF consume as like the external self image.
Yeah, I guess I would say I try to make myself look kind and make sure that I act as kindly as possible. I think that's a very important thing to me. So, yeah, I guess I could relate to that sort of self-image, the projection of self-image.
Right. So part of NF sleep and or sleep in general, or not sleep, sorry, consume is also having an external self-awareness of yourself at any given time, meaning like you become a ghost and you can see yourself from like a third person's perspective. So
Hmm.
when you're interacting with other people, it's like you're watching yourself also. You're like, oh, this is how I come across to the tribe. Do you see yourself like kind of like having that like awareness at any given time? Like you're almost like watching yourself when you're interacting with others.
Don't think I've really thought of that before. That's interesting. Um, I'm gonna need to process that one a bit more, honestly. I don't know if I can say much on that one. I don't know. I think I'm gonna need to do some more processing with that.
Yeah. Yeah, no worries. I mean, I think that's what the interviews are for, to help like the ones who's been typed are like, oh, I didn't know this was this aspect of this. Now I can think about this. So
Hmm.
that's pretty cool. Um, let's go back to the first animal then, the NT play. So this is the one we both have in common. Um, one of the superpowers of the NT play is tribe collaboration and specifically um problem solving with a tribe. It's not something that you personally enjoy. Like when you're in that mode, you're like, okay, like me and the tribe, we're gonna get together, we're gonna go problem solve this thing, and it's gonna be fun because it's like play.
Hmm.
How do you see yourself with that, like, problem solving aspect of that NT play with the tribe specifically?
So I do have a job. I work at Chick-fil-A. And yeah, I guess there is like a lot of cooperation that needs to be done there. Like yeah, like for like when I'm outside, for example, I don't know if you've seen that they go outside, but like there's like headsets you have to wear and like you have to communicate with people to get like our lines moving efficiently. So I guess that's more of the TE aspect of that. And so I don't think I have a very good concrete example of that, but I understand that aspect. I think I'm seeing what you're saying.
Yeah. Well, it's all good. You're actually like a very interesting ESTJ. You're like double activated intuition. So um
Hmm.
you're not gonna be like the most ESTJ of the ESTJs. Like you're gonna be pretty far away actually because you're blast last also. So uh,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I think if ops wasn't created, like there was no way you would have typed yourself because like you would not fit into any mold essentially.
Mm-mm. I guess maybe like INTP since I'm technically introverted, and then the NT I feel like is pretty obvious, and then maybe INTP, INTJ if we were to go to BCI. I don't know.
Right. It's
Yeah.
possible. But then you have FI, so it's kind of like
Yeah.
then it kind of throws that out of the window, so it gets a little bit like confusing and challenging, right? Uh
Hmm.
yeah, definitely top. And you don't come across very like, in traditional Myers-Briggs land. You don't come across as a J either, come across more like
Hmm.
right. Uh so yeah, I don't think you would fit anywhere like in the old system. Um
Hmm.
but with that being said, let's go back again to your animals. I want to go to your SF sleep now. That's your third animal, so you are able to process your deep emotions. Um, can you just walk me through like a time when you had like strong feelings, and then like what did your SF sleep processing look like, and then can you share like what conclusions you came up with at the end of that emotional processing?
One thing I will say is I do every day give my almost every day I give myself like an hour at night. I like nighttime to go outside and like just do a little bit of introspection. I'll listen to like a little bit of music and calming music and do that sort of stuff. But I'm trying to think of a more deeper emotional. What I will say is I also do live in kind of a chaotic household. My niece and nephew live with me, and my parents, I believe, are both savior masculine FE. So there's just a lot of like feelings, and so for me that can be kind of hard at times because my I realize it doesn't know how to deal with that, and so that can be kind of distressing also as a uh, decider too. SI is still a little hard for me. It's hard to the concrete specific time is hard, but I know there's times I've done that before.
Well,
Dang.
don't worry about it. Feminine sensory is it's definitely a tough one. But I can relate to what your sentiment with like the FE could be quite invasive for the FI. It's especially gonna be harder for you because you have FI in the bottom, so you almost feel like helpless.
Mm,
Like
yeah.
what do I do against this like FE invasion that's happening? So
Yes.
so I can definitely see that being a challenge. Um, but it's kind of interesting that the first thing that you brought up though when I asked you the question about emotional processing is the music. The music. Now I want to bring that up because I did a panel interview a few years ago with like everyone in the Delta quadrant, which is like the ESTJ, ISTJ, ENFP, and INFP, right? And we were having a discussion on the SF sleep, like a panel discussion on it, and it was very interesting how like the ones that had FI higher in the grand stack, like the INFPs and ENFPs, when they're having some kind of emotional issue or strong emotions happening, they would go directly to the FI and address it directly without the need of any tools. And then when we
Mm,
went down to the ISTJs, it was interesting that they would use a tool first to try to address it. Like I remember this. um the ICJ in the panel, she said that she would get coffee to help her fix her FI. And if that didn't help, she would also then she would go the double decider route and she would recruit help from like either like a psychologist or something to help her process
Hmm.
her emotions. But then when I got to the ESTJs to answer this question, it was quite fascinating where the default was always a thing, whether that be like exercise, going to sleep, but there was like a challenge when it comes to directly addressing the FI itself, you know. So the tool is being used, but not recruiting help from the tribe or directly addressing it. So I thought it was interesting how like um the higher SI is, the more usage of the tool, and then uh
Yes.
yeah. So do you see yourself doing that personally, where like when you are feeling something strongly emotional, then you would find a tool to assess you, whether that be some kind of physical activity or music in your case or something else?
Yeah, definitely. I will say though, I have actually been trying to I have been going to therapy. So I've been trying to address emotions more directly. So it I haven't gone very long yet, so I haven't achieved much yet, but I'm starting the process. So
Yeah, that's really cool, dude. That's really awesome that you're doing this for yourself. I think this is the best gift you can give yourself is seeing a therapist, especially as an EJ type, you know. And I like how you're using play to get to your FI. I think that's also really cool. That's also really smart, you know. Um,
yeah.
all right. Let's talk about your blast problems. Double feminine ST blasts. So it's not just blast, it's also double feminine. So it's like a double whammy of like
Mm.
difficulty. The only thing going for you with that blast though is it is technically your first and second function. So it
It
has a
doesn't feel like it.
yeah, it's so weird, eh? But like technically it has the biggest container for growth for your type, you know, like because it's the biggest function. So if you did put the reps into SITE, it would technically be the strongest of all your animals to read at in theory at least. So
Mhm.
what has your journey been like with that ST blast, and like do you feel like as you get older you're starting to get better at it, or it's still like it's like a forever challenge that seems to be like always like a nuisance?
I'm trying with Blast, but it's been kind of hard my whole life, honestly. I I was I've been kind of for a while struggling with a unhealthy coping mechanism to deal with some of the emotions around the house. And it took me like 4 years to finally tell my parents that I had that issue and needed help with it. So Blast is like Blast last. That's a really like honestly pretty big struggle for me. I'm trying to like it's hard. It's really hard for me to get started with things. So, yeah, I'm trying to learn, but it's hard.
Honestly, dude, like as an ESTJ, if it's 4 years to talk about your that to talk about that you're having emotional problems is pretty damn good. Because like
Yeah.
a lot of ESTJs don't even do it at all, you know, like or
Hmm.
don't do it until they're like they're having a midlife crisis or something, or they're senior. So I feel like you're ahead of the curve already. Like even 4 years pretty good. I would cut like if I was in your shoes, I would cut myself some slack and be like, oh, 4 years is pretty good for my type, you know?
Yeah. My parents had to like push me though. They could see that something was wrong, and they're like, "Hey, are you okay?" Like it, like even though I technically did blast, eventually it still it still was, I would say in a way kind of forced. But thankfully I have really good parents.
Yeah. Well, if your parents do indeed have FE, I think that's like the one thing, the good thing about FE is they are
Yes.
able to pick up that something is wrong, you know, like emotionally, and they then they would be able to assist you. Because if you have TE parents, they're like they won't know that, they might not know that you're having, some kind of like emotional turmoil happening that needs assistance with, right?
Hmm.
So I think that that definitely plays in your favor. Um, okay, let's talk about your sexual modalities before we talk about your animals again later on.
Okay.
You are a tester visual, so tester is correlated with smell. Can you talk about like having a strong sense of smell, in general?
Yeah. One thing, it doesn't always happen, but sometimes the air can smell different, like during different seasons. Like that's one thing I've noticed. Um, I think a lot of the reason why I also like plushies to help me is my tester. Like I can feel that. I think that helps me like physically feel them more. I've noticed. Like I can like feel the different. I've they use different kinds of fabric depending on which one, and even like the same one will have a few different kinds on it, and I can feel like the differences between each different piece of fabric and the stitching in between. Like I can pretty easily like feel that sort of stuff without really thinking about it. So I don't know if I'm really noticing. I guess I'm just not really as conscious about the smells, but I'd say that the feeling, the physical touch side of it, I am quite uh, aware of.
Gotcha. Would you say that's your love language then, is physical touch?
Definitely, definitely.
Um, so in the past, when they talk about like love languages, like David Chen, they said that physical touch is correlated with like what do you call it? With masculine sensory, but I think nowadays it doesn't seem to be that the case because you don't have masculine sensory. And I'm actually seeing a lot of people with feminine sensory like having physical touch as their love language. So I wonder if that's correlated with your social type,
Mm,
because like as a number four, maybe you'll feel more togetherness when
maybe.
people are giving you hugs and stuff, like you feel like, oh,
Yes.
like warm and
I'm a
cuddly.
big hugger.
Yeah. So I think maybe it's more correlated with a social type if anything, but I'm not sure, of course. Like I'm just like throwing that out. Um,
Hmm.
I do want to go deeper into the social type, but let's finish up the sexual modalities first. So the second one for you is visual. Can you share about having like a visual memory and whatnot?
Yes, the feminine sensory, it may be second, but it's still like my memory is not very concrete. It's quite visual, but what I will say is it's like a picture book. There's still words in there too, but it's also quite visual. Like it's a good mix of both there. It's not like just straight visual. Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that picture book memory of yours? Like, so if you're like recalling things in the past, you start kind of like flipping through almost like an archive of images?
Yeah. Hmm. But like if I'm just like thinking and like within my kind of inner world, I like for example, like before you've even talked, like I've kind of had like a mental conversation with you. I've like imagined myself in this situation, and in my head I've like kind of like talked to you already in a way. I've visualized it and I've like had my internal monologue going at the same time.
It's funny you said that because that's not the first time I've heard of it. Like especially when people come to do the interview with me. Like even had people said I've been talking to you for 3 years in my head. I'm like, what? Like,
That's not that long. Not that.
no, no, of course not. Not for you, but like there are people like I've been thinking about like doing an interview for like X amount of years already. I was like, really? I'm like, why don't you just reach out? We could have talked. But I thought I just think it's like humorous. Um,
Hmm.
so when people say that to me, but that's really cool though. I think one of the superpowers for your type then is you would be like more visually creative. Like, do you have like a creative outlet personally, like drawing or like painting or something like that?
At school, I have a video production class, and I really want to start. I want to really try becoming a content creator, like streaming and YouTube videos eventually. And so I would say my big passion is content creation and video production and that kind of sort of stuff.
Yeah, that's super cool, dude. I definitely support your dream, and I'd love to see you pursue that. I bet it's gonna be good because especially with the visual thing. And the good thing about being a social four, is what I've seen is like because number fours are specialists, just like number threes. So you guys like, yeah, you do need a lot of like external tribe motivation, but like once you get going and you have a steady flow of that like tribe motivation coming in, like you guys can do high level specialist kind of work, So, I would actually
Hmm.
be curious to see what kind of content you produce and like the progress over the years of like, the improvement and like, the art of it, the craft and,
Hmm.
um, what kind of what specific topic are you most fascinated in when it comes to content creation?
I think it'd be really interesting to do like travel related content, like where I go see like different either parts of the US or different countries in general. I really want to. I haven't been out of the country yet, and so I'd like to eventually fly out and go see different countries, and I guess just kind of just understand their culture and stuff. And when talking about video creation, like take videos of the scenery and towns and stuff.
Yeah, that's really cool, dude. Because not enough Americans travel, so I think you would definitely carve out a niche for yourself, um, for sure. And I've seen like ESTJ YouTubers before. There was one guy I was watching. He does like airplanes specifically, so his goal is to like ride as many different airplanes as possible. So I thought that was cool, and like he'll do like luxury ones like first class and business class, but he'll go to like the more ghetto ones too, like from like Africa. Like I remember he was riding like Zimbabwe Airlines, and he was showing like all the broken seat belts and stuff, and I thought it was like really fascinating. So, um, although the guy did have masculine SI, from my opinion, from what I could see, because he's like really good at like the ST blast. But I think for you specifically, you would have your own spin to it because you could be able to describe the smell, being a tester, you'll be able to describe the scenery with your visuals. You'll be able to describe like let's say you're in nature or different cities, you can like touch buildings, so you can describe like the feeling, the tactile feeling. So I think
Hmm.
you would definitely be good at that. Um, and obviously you need to hone your blast because then obviously then
Yes, that's.
although nowadays those silent videos are like really popular, so you don't even have to say anything nowadays, like just focus purely on like the visuals and the music, right?
Hmm.
All right, dude. Let's go deep dive into your social type. This is like a huge one here because I think this is the one like everyone finds fascinating. And you're number four. Can you share a little bit of what your life is like as a social type number four? Like friends being like a huge priority to you and whatnot.
One thing Dave did tell me is that I'm. He said I was. He said that I seemed decently growth mindset and that I actually have the ability to double decide. He said I'm doing decently well for that considering my age. And one thing I've noticed is I'm just like chill with everybody. Like nobody. I've never really had. That's why I was surprised I was a decider at first because I was like I've never really had like major people problems at least so far. But now that I see that it's more EJ is more of a like self problem, it's like, oh, okay, now the dots are connecting here. And so um one thing like when I'm walking around the halls of my school, sometimes people say, "Hi Shane." I'm like, "Who's that?" I don't I don't know who it is, and I feel bad, but I say hi back, of course. But like I'm thinking in my head, who is that? I don't remember, and I feel bad because like they know me, but I forgot. My SI, my feminine SI, just and so but yeah, I really do. Um, I do when somebody is like fits deeply within my FI, and I really care for them. That I really try to make sure that they know that basically, and like try to really hang out with them as much as I can. My best friend recently, her name's Delia. She's a very great person, but and she recently moved, and I actually was like crying when she moved, and I had to like hug her and stuff before she left because I was like really like it was kind of upsetting, but like it's not too far away either though. So eventually I'm probably gonna like try to hang out with her, but like still not seeing her every day was kind of hard for me.
Oh yeah, dude, that's terrible. Like your friend moving. I can relate. I had friends move when I was a teenager also. So it's definitely like sad when it happens, especially with like demon FI, So
Yeah.
yeah. And also your other story with people saying hi to you in the hallways and stuff, and you're forgetting who they are or not even sure who they are. Yeah, that sounds like a feminine sensory thing. It's kind of difficult sometimes with
And then
feminine.
I think it's high TE too, so I'm like ever I feel, I feel weird saying this. It doesn't feel right to say this, but I feel like I'm kind of decently popular. It feels weird saying that. I don't like saying it, but like because I just feel like even my parents like told me like why does everyone know you? Like everyone knows you and stuff. And it's just funny. I don't know. DE.
I don't think it's TE though. I think it's your SF sleep because SF popularity, right? So like
Yeah, but like the connections with people, like right?
yeah, but
Well,
I have noticed that people with SF sleep because like you're once people get to know you, you are likable. You know what I mean? Like, because it's
mm,
SF, right? You know, um, because I feel like like you just freely would share your values and like what you're into, and then people are like, "That's so cool." So
mhm.
I mean, you're definitely a likable person. So
Thank
I
you.
think that, so I think I could see that you being like, well known, for that. Um, so back again to social type number four. Your so, second aspect of it is specialist. Can you share a little bit about like you would rather prefer to specialize in something than like to do the macro like management of stuff. Although you would be able to anyways as you get older because you don't have social type two missing. It's number three, right? It's like the third one. So but like so you can kind of like double observe in that regard. But can you
Mhm.
share a little bit about like this the gravitational pull towards specialization?
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I feel like especially when like for example, like the computer that I'm uh streaming this off of, I built my computer over here. And so with one thing I've noticed with like my interests and stuff, I really do like kind of like narrow in and specialize and like really try to learn. And then also I guess at like a work example, like at work, like I really like the outside work. I like the face to face, the cash cart is what we call those two areas when you're outside at Chick-fil-A. And so I really, I guess, have specialized in that specific area. I can kind of do the rest of the stuff, but if I could choose, I would just be outside the whole day
What do you mean you'd be outside the whole day or like
because that's the part of the job that I like the best, and I've like really like specialized there. There's an outside like role that we can uh do there.
so this is for the content creation thing. Sorry, I'm just trying to.
No, sorry, my job at Chick-fil-A.
Oh, okay, I see. So for Chick-fil-A, you like to do the outside customer service.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Um, in your future career, have you ever envisioned like what you would be specializing in personally? Would it be content creation or would it be something else?
I've been looking down the content creation route, but I do really enjoy psychology too. So I was maybe thinking going down the therapy route also. The only thing I do worry about that is being an EJ. Like I kind of worry about bringing other people's problems home with me and not being able to live in the moment with my family. So that's one thing I do worry about going down that road, but that isn't uh, fully cut off yet, though. That idea.
Yeah, I can see that being a challenge for sure because you have masculine FI, so you'll like store those emotions which is not good.
Mhm.
You want to be storing those emotions. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's why like the FE is an advantage in this field because they can um you know they don't have to store it necessarily, right? Like but I guess masculine FE would. So yeah, definitely masculine feeling would have a struggle with the bringing the emotion home, like not leaving it like at the session. So and also as an EJ, you'll be very empathetic, right? So then you'll be
Yeah.
with their problems outside of um the workplace itself. So maybe not the best career route, from like a like emotional sanity perspective.
OPS. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, what about your social type number two, your generalist? That's your third one. Have you seen yourself use that at all in any aspect? Because it is activated, so it's not missing like the broad responsibility, like making sure that everything in your life is also being taken care of, like I think that's like one of the powers of number two is they're able to see like all the aspects of their life and like they're trying to do something about it. Like, like, it could be like health and fitness, career, friends, and family, like it's like juggling all these parts.
I've done like decently well in school. Like there are certain things I'll specialize in. Like I like psychology in my class and I like my video production class. But like overall I can kind of do all the subjects if I see the value in doing all of them. And then like I told you at work, for example, I told you I like to specialize outside, but there's also I can do the whole inside stuff too. So
Yeah. So it seems like the generalist is not your biggest area of concern. You can do it. I mean, you'd rather specialize, of course, but you can do it if you
yeah.
um let's go over your the fourth one, the biggest demon of this social type four, which is flex and ego. I already kind of saw that you were uncomfortable with the flex thing because earlier when you were talking about like you're kind of popular at school, like you're like kind of like uncomfortable saying it because it's kind of like a flex, right, to say that, you know.
Yeah.
So can you share a little bit about like having that as a demon, the flex and the ego, and you're like, ooh, like I just don't want to go there.
I don't know. I guess I just feel weird when I'm like puffing. I don't know what the right word is, but like puffing myself up in front of people, just being like, "Yeah, look at me. I did a thing." I don't know. It just feels weird. I don't know how else I can describe it. It just it doesn't feel like the right thing to do in a way.
Right.
It feels correct to be humble, I guess.
Right. No, 100%. Although I think people would be also interested to know what you're good at. So I think like it doesn't hurt to
Mhm.
have like a little bit of flex. Because like I was talking to Dave about this, and I'm a social type too, so I have demon flex like you do. But it's
Mhm.
the thing is with like with your social type, it's like this is your first one, second one, third one, and the fourth was like all the way here, right? So it's like a
Mhm.
gap between the third and the fourth. Like for example, for you, you're generalist, right? So you can still do it. It's not missing at all. Like,
Yeah.
when it comes to the flex, it like, goes like way down, right? So, like for me, I have flex third, right? And I will flex. It's just like I don't go overboard with it. It's just like the way Dave described for me, it's like drop and go. It's like for example, like I've been to over 100 countries, right? Like that's my thing is like I'm the travel guy. So I use that in a way because like when you use flex, um then the way they describe it is like you're attaching your name into something, right? You know,
Mhm.
so then people don't forget you. So or like they associate you with something, right? So for me, it's like, oh, he's Kendrick. He's like the travel guy. He's been to like 100 countries, right? So it's like, okay, I have that. So I'm not like, in my head, I'm like, okay, I have a little bit of flex. I have like a little um what do you call it? Like outlet for that. So but then as I get older, like for me, specialist is the hardest thing. So then for me, it's like I need an outlet for specialist. And I'm like a little bit weird about it too, because like, your fourth one is weird. Like for you, for example, flexing is like, ooh,
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, ooh, specializing. I don't know what to do. You know, like for me, it's like actually my YouTube channel. Like I when I make explainer videos specifically, that's my area of specialist, right? Like when I do explainers, I'm like, okay, I do it differently than other people because like a lot of people in the personality space, there's not a lot of people in the NESI axis. A lot of them have, SENI or yeah, SENI. So I'm like, okay, so I have a different perspective. So that's I'm gonna specialize in that little perspective. And obviously like the interviews, right? There's not many interviewers as well. So um so so that's my outlet for that. So I'm kind of curious, like, okay, if you had to pick an outlet for yourself where you would be able to flex, just like a small flex. It doesn't have to be like a cringe flex, right? Just like it's like you mention it and you get out. So it's not like it doesn't get weird. Yeah. What would it be? Take your time, dude. Take your time.
Okay. I'm a car enthusiast and I have a car that is cool. I like cars. Let me show you. I got pictures. I'm gonna really flex.
All right. All right. Looking forward to it.
Okay. This is my Honda Civic wagon. It's lowered and it's like really clean and uh good condition. And it's cooler than your car. Ah.
Dude, actually when you flex, it's really funny. So I think you pull it off because your flex is comedic. So it's really good. So yeah, you should do it more actually. People like they will get a huge laugh, like huge kick out of it. It's so funny. You know. I didn't know that's what social life force flex is like. There's almost like it's almost it's like very comedic, Um, I like it. I like it. You should definitely do it more, especially when you become a content creator. You should like definitely like stick that in as like a what do I call it, like a comedy relief.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure you actually do. Do you do that like in when you're with like friends and family? Like you have like a little like a funny flex that you that you pull up.
I think I've done it before, but it's not like a recurring thing that I try to do.
Okay.
Maybe I should change that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely do it. It's you have like a good comedic timing with that, so you should definitely do that. Like you're what's what the word I'm looking for? Like you're leaving things out of the like what's the word I'm looking for? I have S at the bottom, so it's hard. But like uh like you could have like this is missing in your repertoire. Is what I'm trying to say. You know. Um, so you should definitely like pull it out of your pocket and like buzz it, use it more often. Um, can you describe to me? I'm gonna go a little bit serious here, a little bit. Can you describe to me the way that David Shannon described it is like the best friend and mortal enemy of the social type four is the number ones. So can you share a little bit about like the admiration for number ones, but also when number ones trigger you, essentially?
Hmm. I can't really think of a specific number one who. Okay, I don't know. I was watching a video. I don't know if this guy was number one, but he seemed very flexy, and he was a tech content creator, and he was basically talking about like how he has to make his business bigger, get more money, and all this stuff. And he's like, yeah, and yeah, I do put time in for my family. I have like a certain allotted amount of time for my family, but like I have to really like build this business and I have to do this stuff for them because this is going to be bigger and this is going to help them, in the long term. But I'm thinking that's nice and all. I mean, it's good that you're doing that, but like you also are a multi-million subscriber channel. I'm sure you've got quite a lot of money already. And I don't know, I personally think that the having more family time was more important from my view. But like I understand his perspective though too. But like I just think family time is pretty important. It's like very important, I guess I'd say.
Right. I guess that's like the biggest difference between the ones and twos is um like when Dave did like videos, typing videos on number twos, they'll get to a certain point and they'll purposely stop because they need like they want family time. But the number ones won't stop. They'll just keep going, 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 going.
Mm-hmm.
Because they need to reach a certain amount of achievement and status, right? So I think maybe that part of it kind of triggered you because it's like, you have enough already. Like let's allocate more time to friends and family. So that's kind of like your values that you're kind of projecting at that perspective, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I can see that like being a triggering factor. But like, what about what do you admire about the number ones? Just like obviously that's you always like there's a saying like the grass is greener on the other side. So like there's always like for example for me like the number threes, I've always admired like how meticulous they are with their craft, right? It's like wow, that's like so amazing. I wish I can like do that. Like the people who are like into cooking, they'll like cut it a certain way to master the craft completely, and I'm like in
Mm-hmm.
awe, right? Um, but like obviously like the grass is greener on the other side. So for you as like a number four, what do you see with a number one? You're just like in awe. You're like, wow, I wish I had more of that, you know?
Yeah, I definitely see the value in like being a number one, like because like with the number ones, I feel like they can if they if they um if they want to make a bigger impact on the world. Because like with the social fours, we don't like to um we don't value like I think a lot of us don't value money and stuff as much, and so we're not as self-driven to build big businesses and stuff. But like those big businesses are like what move the economy and stuff and make our society work. And so without those number ones who do that kind of stuff, we wouldn't really have these the luxuries of our modern society.
What I do find fascinating is that the people who do become number one is any of the four social types. It's not necessarily like the number ones, right? For example, like, have you seen a typing video they did of Warren Buffett?
I don't think so. I
The
I know who he is, yeah,
Okay,
and I know
so
he's social four and all that.
exactly,
ENTP.
exactly. So you have like this social four that is having a number one role because he's like one of the top, investors in the whole wide world, right? But then it's kind of funny that he's the number four because, have you seen that photo that Warren Buffett had of his office staff? Have you seen that photo?
I don't think so. No.
Okay, well, when you get a chance, look it up. But he has a photo of like the people that was working for him like 4 years ago is the same people that's still working for him today. And they have the exact same
Mm,
photo. Like no one literally like left the company because it's a family, right? So it's like, huh. Like, so this is what a number four business looks like. It's like very
yeah.
oriented. But it's kind of good because then you have like when you go to work, it's like your coworkers are your friends, you're pals with them, they're your family, right?
Hmm.
Like you see them all the time. So like there's like a warm, fuzzy feeling when you go to work. It's like, oh man, I'm gonna see this douchebag or whatever. It's like, oh, I get to see I get to hang out with my family today. It's kind of cool. And then you're doing work together, and then it almost feels like the work becomes like the work quality becomes even better because you're doing it for like a bigger purpose, right? We're doing this as a team, as a family, right?
Yeah, that's cool. I didn't know that about him. That's really interesting.
Yeah. So I guess, being your specific type, like do you still but you don't envision yourself doing that though, right? You still prefer to specialize regardless.
Yeah, I think so. I think, like I told you, content creation, I'd like to just like really like specialize and like hone in on my skills in that area. And I guess just, I don't know if it's the more introverted side of me being blast last. more introverted side, but I just kind of want to like really like narrow in and work, do my own thing kind of, and just like, but also like if I if I do really get a lot of like followers and stuff, I think it I would like the idea of wow, blast last. I like the idea of having a bigger impact on like the world in general because I'm providing value to people like with even if it's just something as simple as entertainment, like something to just make them laugh, something to make them smile, something to make them happy in some sort of way because life can be hard. I understand. No, everyone has their off days and stuff, and so I watch YouTube videos to like have give myself some um, time to for entertainment and stuff, and so I'd love to be able to be a provider of that for other people.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good goal to have for sure. Like, like that piece of like um positive energy in people's day, like just
Mm-hmm.
watching the clips that you've created, if you do become a content creator, you know. So I definitely think that's good. Like for me personally, like when I do the interviews and stuff, like I hear people tell me it's like, oh yeah, when I cook breakfast in the morning, I'm listening to your interviews, you know. So it's like kind of become like part of their day, right? Like I'm listening to like, oh, I'm
That's
listening to
cool.
yeah, so definitely for sure. Like I think like when you start being a content creator, you can definitely be part of someone's life, right? So I think that's super cool for sure. Um, all right, Shane. The last thing I wanted to address in this interview is there anything you want to discuss about? So I'm gonna open the floor to you because you requested this interview and I want to make sure that something like if there's something we haven't discussed or talked about that we get a chance to do it. So is there something that you know wanna bring forth that you want to discuss about?
I do want to say I found it interesting when Dave gave me his the audio. He said if if you were to put the introvert to extrovert spectrum, I'd be more like third or fourth most introverted column, is what he told me. And I was really shocked by that because I did because being lead play, I would think I'd be quite extroverted. But one thing I've noticed about myself is I feel like I'm extroverted and introverted in swings. Like it's like at work I'm really extrovert. I have to be like, "Hi, welcome to Chick-fil-A" and all that sort of stuff. But at home I'm a mope. I am a mope at home and a skib at work. I've being a play consume sleep blast. Once my play energy's out, get by like get because I just don't I'm just in the consume sleep mode, and then I don't want to blast either. Blast is last. Don't make me blast. So I'm just in that consume sleep mode, and it's just no more energy left after I've used up all my play.
Dude, your swing is so strange because it's like it's play consume, and then consume sleep, and then the blast is like completely like missing, you know? Because like if you look at my stack, right? I'm play blast consume sleep, so it kind of makes more sense. It's like super extrovert and then swing super introvert, right? But I'm used, but they the way they're paired up makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense. Like the
Yeah, I totally get yours. Yours makes a lot of sense to me.
yeah, because like yeah, the play blast makes sense and the consume sleep makes sense together, right? But yours is like the play consume makes sense and then the consume sleep makes sense. But where does the blast come in? Like it doesn't make sense, right? You know, like where when does it come out? Like technically your swing should be like play consume skip and then sleep blast douchebag, right? Like that's kind of like what your swing's supposed to look like. But like, have you ever seen yourself use the sleep blast at all in any aspect of your life, or do you feel like you're too young for it to come out?
Hmm. I'm not conscious of any moment that I was in like a sleep blast sort of state, but I just find that interesting.
Yeah, I don't even know how you would do it because your blast is double feminine. Like, so because when you're sleep blast, right? Technically, you need to talk about something that you've stored in your SI, right? But that's
I rarely ever do that.
but it's like
It's just
feminine. Like, how can you store anything? I feel like you could only do it if you had like a written something written, and then you have to like
I need
reference.
to write things down more.
Yeah, yeah, or like you're doing like a PowerPoint presentation. You know,
Mhm.
and then at least you're like when the slide comes out and there's like an image, you're like, oh, I remember that now. You know what I mean? Because
Hmm.
otherwise, if you had to like do it off the cuff just from your head, it's like not, it's like air. It's like,
Yes, yes. That's a double feminine blast. It's like, oh, okay. I was processing, I was thinking, okay, this is what I'm going to say. And then I go to say it, and it's like, what was I going to say again? Oh, I don't know. It's like, what? I just planned for this.
that must be so annoying. Like you're like spend so much time preparing for it and then it's gone.
Yes. I think I need to start writing things down. I think, like you said, I've noticed that. I think that would really help me.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Shane, we'll wrap up the interview here. So,
All right.
yeah, yeah, thanks for coming out. Thanks for reaching out
Yeah,
to
thank you.
uh, you know, get this set up and stuff. So yeah, uh, I hope for the best for you in terms of your content creation, and I hope you get a chance to see your friend more too. Your best friend. So I hope you guys figure out a way,
Thanks.
MP play, figure out how you guys can hang out more and spend more time and continue on with your friendship. I think that's really important.
Yes. All right.
All right, take care.
Thanks, you too.